Welcome, my darling pretties, to our Beyond the Dawn of Business podcast for pretty, empowered female entrepreneurs. It's time to step into your power, pretties. Lift each other, support the squad, and choose a life filled with the autonomy and freedom to live your dreams. I'm your host, Dawn Beth, owner and founder of Beyond the Dawn digital business brand and agency. My coffee is hot and my eyelashes are on, so we are ready to go. Hi, and welcome to today's episode. So today we're going to be talking about something that I am incredibly excited about, which is metrics and measurements and data. We've called this episode Metrics for Sales, and the reason that we've called it that is because it's very easy to believe that measurements or metrics or data are things that only need to be added to your marketing department, or they only need to be added to your financial department, or they only need to be looked at a certain area of time. And yet the most common question that myself and so many of my business peers get asked all of the time is about getting new leads, new clients, and being able to make really good money doing something that you love. And we don't necessarily find a way to feed that back to the measurements, metrics, and data collection. But essentially, that is what we need to do. Now, in talking about this today, there is a little disclaimer I do need to let you know. First, for some strange reason, I have had a little bit of a cold, and I do have a frog in my throat that keeps coming and going. So if I have to clear my throat or if I sound a bit groggy, please forgive me. I'm doing the Phoebe sexy phlegm thing right now, and I'm hoping that you can get on board with that for me as well. But also equally, where our studios are in Lytham, we currently have a lot of air traffic. So the red arrows like to fly over here a couple of times a day. And I have been trying to figure out when the right thing would be, what the right point in the schedule would be for me to record this, so that you wouldn't be affected by any noise pollution outside of myself. And I decided that it's more important to do what I say and tell all of my pretties to do, which is to turn up imperfect and take messy action. So if you hear me maybe not sounding as clear as a bell today, and perhaps having an orchestra of fantastical aircraft in the background, please just forgive me. It is what it is, and it's probably not worth worrying about. So let's get back to what we're actually here to talk about today, which is sexy metrics for sales. Now, lots of people speak to me about the way that they conduct their internal systems in business. Quite often when people come to us, they come to us for content, they come to us for the shiny Hollywood version of their businesses that they're going to be portraying. Behind the scenes in VIP days and in one-to-ones, or when we get together at events, that's where we'll have the discussions about the behind the scenes that very much still needs as much attention as the kind of front of house Hollywood style that we show up on social media. And we're really lucky as a full ranged agency. We don't just look at one element. We have lights in every corner, making sure that we're illuminating the entire situation, so that we're always looking at all of these different things, and more importantly, how they work in conjunction with each other for a successful business model. Metrics, data, and measurements are so key. Once you actually get a handle on this arena, you will find business so much easier. Being able to forecast sales with some degree of confidence. Nothing is ever fully guaranteed, but when you understand your numbers, for instance, if you know your conversion rate, you know how many people you need to be looking at to be able to get that conversion rate of a certain percentage of people in that audience, you know how much your product's going to be, you can work out potentially how many sales you believe that you can create. And we've seen it time and time again work like a well-oiled machine. When a company is well versed in their own measurements and data, you don't have to leave anything to chance anymore. Now, there is something about not knowing. And for me, as a ADHD business owner, there's definitely been some sort of procrastination in this area for me before. I almost didn't want to know. I want to be surprised when somebody purchases something from me and I don't know who they are and I didn't know where they came from, and I want it to be a little bit of a mystery. But once you get to a certain point in business, that's actually really shaky ground, because you can't make key financial decisions if you don't know what the potential earnings of the company could be. And I'm not just talking about in the next quarter, I'm talking about in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months. How do you know if you can hire somebody and employ them if you don't have the longevity of figuring out whether you have the opportunity to earn enough money in the company to pay their wages and cover all of the costs of having an employee? So all of these things considered, it can be a really, really magnificent way to unlock your next level. And so often, the difficulty with metrics and measurements and data is that we don't know what to look for. We don't know how to cross-populate them to figure out what it's actually telling us. It is like its own secret code. It's a language of its own right. And it's definitely something that is built in, like I said earlier, into the behind the scenes of your business systems, not just the outward stuff. So if I talk to you about insights, you'll be able to see how many people liked a post. You'll be able to see how many people commented on the post. You'll even be able to see, to some degree, the reach of that post and how many people saw the post, or more accurately, how many people that particular social media program put the post out to. Okay? We all know that it's a numbers game. And we all know that there are averages in terms of percentages as well, in terms of who will purchase, who will be engaged, who will, give you some sort of insight into their world. And this is why we put so much emphasis on audiences. That being said, once you have an audience, even if it's a small micro audience, it's not about then just leaving it to the snowball effect where you get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people but don't understand where they're coming from, what they're doing when they're with you. Okay? You need to know where they found you. You need to know what it was that intrigued them about you. You need to know what they're loving, what they're buying. You need to know how you can easily convert people. Are you covering all of the corners of potential incomes when it comes to your business? Because not everybody purchases in the same way. There's multiple different ways for buying behaviours to change and evolve. Every single year we see changes in buying behaviours. Just look at your high street and how many empty units there are on your local high street in terms of physical stores. So all of these things are really relevant. You also need to know yourself what your personal conversion rate is. If you have good quality leads and you are able to fully give a good comprehension and communication over the benefits of what it is that you are selling, you'll likely have a good conversion rate, okay? Every single person, even if your conversion rate is nearly 100%, every single person will have a call or a situation at some point where your proposal is rejected. That's just business, okay? So you can't worry about those things. Those things don't mean that you're going to lose. You're just going to move on to somebody who's ready to buy. But when you're figuring out what you're going to do for your business strategy, you might be figuring out what products to release. You might be figuring out which time of year to release them to. You might need to tweak the way you market them. You might need to change the price point in them. You might need to add more value to them. You may have to change your delivery style in the way that you present them to your audience. All of these things can be informed beautifully if you are collecting data. So what data do you need to collect? Well, first and foremost, you need to be looking at the people who are interacting with you, and not just on social media. You need to be thinking about the people who are interacting on your email list, the people who are reaching out to you when you go to meetups in person. You need to be thinking about the people who, yes, are landing in your DMs, are giving you comments, but also equally talking to other people in your spaces. So for instance, if you have a LinkedIn group or a Facebook group or a Mighty Networks or even a WhatsApp, who are the people who are continually contributing? Now you'll notice that a number of social medias and all-in-one systems are starting to build in data drives for these specific things. Beyond just your normal insights, they are giving us metrics that allow us to actually see who is giving bits of information, who is interacting, who is engaging, who is actively showing up. All of these little nuances in the measurements and data can inform us as to what the opportunities are for us to sell. So say for instance you've got a group of 2,000 people and you're going to do a launch to this group, and you make a decision that you're going to go live for a couple of weeks ahead of the launch and warm everybody up for a few minutes and just make sure that people know that something's coming, get a really nice buzz going, and just allow for the opportunities for you to go ahead and do that launch. Then you get to a stage where you're performing the launch and you come on live, and out of the 2,000 people that are in your group, 300, for instance, are watching you live. Say that you have a really, really engaged group and 300 people turn up for you straight away live on the day that you launch. You might be looking at 2,000 people and thinking, well, I convert at 10%, so I'm going to get 200 sales out of this group. But you might not be aware that however many people you have in the group does not actually mean that you have active members. You can find out your active members in your insights on your group that will give you an indication of people who are active in the actual group, okay? People who are active within the platform but also in the group. But actually you're probably looking at 10% of the people who turned up for your live, which is 30 people. Now, the difference between 30 people and 200 people is massive. So you could be looking at a launch and thinking, wow, this launch tanked. I only got 27 people and I was looking for 200. But you never had the numbers for 200. And this is why metrics, measurements and data can be so incredibly illuminating when allowing you to fully forecast the potential earnings for your business. You need to know where people have found you, what it is that made them want to follow you, what behaviours they do next, and what it is that they actually want from you. Now, it gives a lot of thought when you can look at all of the numbers and figure out quite beautifully what needs to occur in your business based on what you can see. It's like a guide. It's like an entirely different language, but if you can decipher it, it can be really handy for you. So I want you to think about the things that you've got planned in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months. Think about those things that you really want to do for your business, and have you fully figured out your metrics? Do you know what your conversion rate is? Do you know how many people you need to be actively in your audience for you to get the sales numbers that you want to get? When you're looking at a good number, a better number, or a best number in terms of launching, do you have a good understanding that that top number is even possible? And where can you find the people who will fit that bill that will allow you to get that top number? In terms of like figuring out all of these things, it's helpful for you to know this, because you can have a goal. You can look at your email list and be like, okay, I need 50,000 people on my email list so that when I sell things in my emails on my usual conversion rate, if I've got 50,000 ideal clients that are all on my spectrum of ideal clienthood, and I put out an offer and I, as I do, I get 10% of all of my email list, then you're going to know I can sell this thing at this price to 10% of this 50,000, and that's going to give me a certain amount of money. And it makes all of your decision making when it comes to your strategy, to whether you're going to hire and employ people, whether there's an area of your business that you need to invest more in, which products and services come out at which time of year. It's really, really invaluable. So my suggestion today, if you're not already in my free group, come and join us in my free group. We're going to be talking about metrics. We're going to be talking about the bits and pieces that we do to be able to measure data. Come and join the conversation, learn ways that you can actually figure out this fantastic math and build into your business structure just a little bit of magic that will inform you and help you going forward, because it really, really is invaluable. Okay, it's been lovely to talk to you about this. I love all of the data. Remember also to test. Nothing has to be perfect. It just has to be measured. And you have the opportunity to find out everything that you need to know from your audience, because they already have the answers. It's just up to us to be able to extract those answers. So come and enjoy the conversation, and I'll see you next time. If you're loving our Pretty podcast, come on over to Social Pretties, our online safe house and sisterhood community. It's a safe space where female entrepreneurs connect and thrive in a warm, welcoming fold of pretty amazing women. You'll find an easy redirect in the description, and I can't wait to see you in there. And depending on where you're listening right now, we would love it if you would click subscribe or follow so that you can be the first to know when our new podcasts come out.